You are listening to Storymakers, the podcast for women who are ready to step into their true identity, live with meaningful purpose, find belonging and connection, grow in leadership, and walk boldly in faith. Here you can uncover the story that you were created to live because you were made for such a time as this. Hi, Storymakers. Today I'm sitting down and having a conversation with my new friend, Jordan Bailey. She's a very creative person, which I love, and she is just somebody who keeps following her curiosity through kind of just about every medium you can imagine. So she is an artist and a photographer, creative director, like business owner, baker, speaker, kind of basically like the whole creative ecosystem in one person, yet not Jesus. He's the one full, complete creative ecosystem that she has made in the image of our Father, right? So underneath all of it, there is a powerful story of transformation. She's walked through deep depression. She's learned how to replace lies with truth. And now she creates from a place of more wholeheartedness, and she uses her work to help other people feel seen and known, connected, which is why I invited her to come on to the Storymaker Show. So in this conversation, we're going to talk about what it means to heal from living in the false story, in the lies, the surprising way her baking business started, and what's that look like for you? How could you contextualize some of what's been possible for her to what is possible for you, because I love to model what's possible here. And how your own story shapes the way you show up in the world. So if you've been wondering how your gifts and experiences and even your pain can come into a story, something that you can offer other people, then you're going to love Jordan's voice and her wisdom in this episode. So let's get started introducing Jordan Bailey. Ultimately, let's talk about how mental health and hearing God go together. Just starting there at that very core, that's a foundational piece of even looking at it from our culture today. Mental health, the health aspect of it, does really start by hearing, what does God say? Because that's the renewing of our mind. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Put on the helmet of salvation. You have the mind of Christ. All of the things, everything biblical is like, we've got to hear God, hear the Father, know the truth. And that's going to inform what sets us free in our mental health state. So what are your thoughts about that?
Yes, my personal experience with mental health has not always been healthy, and where I learned that true healing in my mental health came from truly hearing from God and getting curious about what He says about who I am. But I go back and think about what made me so unhealthy in the first place, and it was not listening to God. It was actually listening to the lies of the world. And when I used to hear the phrase, like, the enemy's going to be lying to you. He's a liar. He's an accuser, right? And I just always assumed that he's going to lie to me about, maybe the desires of my heart or something. But what I was realizing when I first started to try to get healthy was that the lies that I was believing were about, like, my worth and the way that I saw myself and how I showed up for myself. And it bled into every part of my world. And so mental health to me is about healthiness is really going to come from the truth of what God tells us through scripture, through community, and through listening prayers, getting connected to what He's actually telling you and getting curious. And I didn't really start healing my mental unhealthiness until I started listening to Him instead of listening to the world.
So tell me more about, like, listening prayer. Like, if you had to explain that to somebody who's never heard of it, how would you define that?
Yeah, I am currently working on ways to share that with some clients as we speak. And so I'm kind of diving into what does that mean? How to make it accessible to people, maybe not even um, who want to frame it through a faith. And so, I mean, I think the words mindfulness or meditation can be used as well. But I do think that if you want to say listening prayer, contemplative listening, um, it is the intention, or that's it's how Jesus showed us how to pray when he lived here on earth. Um, it's not just talking at God and, doing all the supplication, thanksgiving, all those really good things that we need to do in our regular, like kind of normative prayer that we've been taught as kids. But it's really seeing how God or how Jesus was listening to what God was telling him how to live life and how to draw strength when he was being tempted. Listening to the enunciation of, whenever he got baptized, saying that you are my son, whom I love, with you I am well pleased. His ministry started by listening and agreeing with and receiving who he was from God. And so it's kind of like, I would never say slap Jesus on the face, but like it's kind of a slap in the face for Jesus when we are like, I'm going to talk at God and then I'm done with the conversation and bye. Like it's like being on the phone with a friend and they just, you know, blah, 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 and then they hang up and you don't get a response. And so praying is just continuing that conversation and really receiving the wisdom and the truth that God has for us. And it's being humble enough to listen, and sometimes we'll hear beautiful things and sometimes we'll hear like hard things, but it's always going to be the truth and it's always going to be from love and not condemnation. So listening prayer is really just that second part of prayer that I think we don't really get taught how to do until we're older, right?
Yeah. Right. And I like what you said. It might be beautiful or hard, but it'll always be truth. And we're so busy all of the time trying to figure out what we have to say and who will listen that I think, especially, I wasn't raised in the church. Like I got saved at 22, kind of in the pit of despair. Jesus kind of like literally came and got me. And that's how I got introduced to Christianity was Jesus came and got me. Nobody led me to him. So I actually had an encounter where I started hearing Jesus before I heard religion or man's like interpretation of anything. Which I really appreciate. I'm glad that happened for me, as dark as I had to get into, like I had to get into a lot of darkness in order to get pulled out that way. But it has been the encounter that's carried me every day since then. And then when I was invited, somebody said, you should go to church. And I was like, well, I don't do the whole should thing very well, but if he tells me to, I will. And that's when I started learning that not everybody heard God. They did what they thought they were supposed to do, what they should do, or what was normal to go to church on Sunday. And I guess I found out that I was challenging because I said, well, if Jesus tells me to go to church, I will. And if he wants me to go to church, he'll tell me which one to go to. And I started meeting people who were like, oh, well, I mean, okay, but don't, don't dilly dally. You really need to get into church. And I'm like, but why wouldn't I wait for him to tell me where to go? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, you guys don't do this.
I love that.
It was so odd to me because I'm like, I met Jesus by hearing Jesus. And then I met the church and how the church didn't spend time hearing Jesus. And I was very confused. Then it got normal. And I was like, oh, I actually started going like, I don't know, just going about the normal life and doing the normal Christian life. But then I realized like, I just can't go without hearing him. It's not as fruitful. I've got to have time to hear him. And so I realized, nope, like what you're talking about, a lot of people have never considered listening prayer. There's a lot of talking prayer. and supplication prayer and thanksgiving and praise prayer. Like it's all, like you said, it's not bad, but you're still lacking something that's really necessary. Like you said, listen to hear him about what he says about your identity and worth. So that counters the lies if the lies get in, but also it can help prevent the lies from getting in, right?
Absolutely. And oh gosh, I think a lot of the healing came when I realized it wasn't like what God told me when I first started to hear from him. It was just the fact that he wanted to talk to me. And it was so beautiful because I remember, so I've dealt with some alcohol abuse in my life. And I've always thought that I was a good person. And, so I would be drinking be drunk on my bathroom floor alone in my house and like praying to God, like, can you hear me? Can you hear me? And then I would stop listening. I would stop talking and I'd go to sleep and I'd forget that I said the prayer and nothing would change. But when I first started realizing like God was there in that bathroom and he was saying, I want you to hear me and I'm talking to you. How can I reach you? And he was just whispering and he was there and he showed up in friends and in the small quiet places. But my life really started to change when I just realized that the king of the universe, the creator, created me and wanted to talk to me. Like,
Yeah.
that changed everything for me. And then everything else kind of
That's so
fell
much about your
apart.
identity and your worth that he wants to talk to you.
Yeah.
Right? So powerful.
Yeah.
Especially when sometimes we have parents and families that didn't show us the same thing. And we're like, wait a minute, but the king, he does want to hear what I have to say and he does want to speak to me. Is really precious. How long ago was that you kind of got that revelation?
It was probably in 2023, 2024 time. I started going to a great church here in Kingsport, Tennessee called Christ Fellowship. And what I love about that church is that they have what they call equip classes. So it's not just about a big performance on Sunday or Wednesday and like come see the guy on the stage and here's the lights and the music. They really spend almost every day of the week catering to people who need him and having these classes that you can take. And sometimes it's, like a 4-week class. And the first one that they're really, passionate about people taking is called Hearing God. And I've heard about it. I was a little afraid of it because I grew up in church, but the church that I grew up in said, prophecy is no longer a valid thing. And so I just I didn't know what that really meant, but I knew that I wanted it. And so I was still like kind of a baby Christian at this point, or a baby again. I was gone for like about 10 years and then I came back. But um, at this Hearing God class, it was really it was just, it wasn't anything super freaky and supernatural. It was just saying like, here's proof in the Bible that this is real. This is how he spoke to people in the Bible. This is how he's speaking to the person across the table from me. And so, that revelation, I've done listening prayers for the first time in groups and had amazing, like, revelation that I wanted to leap out of my chair and I didn't because I'm in a group. But I just started practicing on my own and really making sure that like, okay, am I actually hearing from God? Is this just me? Does it match scripture? Does it come from a place of condemnation? So they really did a good job at that equip class to teach us like, how do we do it well and how do we use it? Because it's one thing to hear from him, but you have to receive it and walk with it. And so that was kind of the next step that I still struggle with sometimes. Like I know that he calls me his beloved daughter, which for the first 2 years or so, that's the only thing I got. I didn't really get anything more deeper than that because I think it took me that long to really believe it. But then he started calling me, more into my identity about being a creative and a communicator. But if I don't agree with it and walk in it and use it. And yeah, I mean, I'm losing out on the fruitful life that he created me to have.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's it look like in your day-to-day life in a place where now you understand that hearing God is possible, it's biblical, and learning how to actually do it for yourself? Like you can actually just stop and listen.
Mm-hmm.
What's it look like in your daily life to do that?
Yes, practically, and this is something that I loved that they did in Christ at the Christ Fellowship class. You don't have to do, not everyone's going to benefit from doing things the same way. This is what worked for me. I am a natural, like I'm a writer. I've always thought I was going to be like a beat poet or something, like a slam poet growing up. But I just write. I have tons of journals. Like, Lord, TJ Maxx hates to see me come into the journal aisle because I will buy a journal every time.
We clean them out.
Yes. And so,
I think they made Google Drive for you.
I don't even want to look at my Google Drive right now. It's the best. But so I love journaling, and part of how they teach us how to, it's like the idea of using 2 different colored pens. And maybe the part of prayer that you feel like you're talking to God or you're asking a question. And it really works if you just have one question that you ask. It's not like, okay, God, just talk to me. And then just stay silent and like wonder, what is he saying? It's, Lord, what am I afraid of today? Or who do you say I am? How do you want me to walk into this situation right now? What is a lie that I'm believing? Asking a question, writing it down on a piece of paper in one color. And then the first thing that comes to your mind, just the instinct that happens, that it seems odd at first to just, okay, I'm just going to record what you have coming to your mind. That just it might feel like it's you, but then the more you do it, the more you kind of get to know his character and his voice. And you write down in the other color. So question in one color, his response, what you feel like he's saying to you. And then just meditate on that. See if it feels true, if it's scriptural, if it's pointing back to him, if it's full of love. If there's any kind of hate or shame or condemnation, it's probably not from him. It's probably from your own anxiety that you're just in the echo chamber of. And so when I started doing that, and I started to see question, answer, I also was seeing all the consistent things. So there's a record, there's a log of this conversation that I'm having with God. And I'm seeing all the things that he's telling me. And I can see how it gets deeper, or sometimes it gets stuck on the same thing because I'm not receiving it. So that was a really practical thing that I loved doing. And if you are a journaler, if you like to journal, that's great. And then I also have sometimes I do this ritual. I'm very sentimental. I like creating vibes. I'm a creative. I'm an artist. I like, the whole experience. And so sometimes if I know like I'm having a hard day and I live alone, so this is easy to do. I'll light candles and put on a specific song. And it's like it sucks me back into that mentality. And I immediately it just regulate. I don't know the psychology behind it, but it's something about that ritual just gets me in the mood to just stay in silence with him. And there is just the most healing part of it was just basking in love from just hearing him want to be with his daughter. That if you don't let silence, if you let other things like crowd your mind, but when you start emptying out your mind and just enjoying the silence and kind of being uncomfortable or being comfortable with kind of that uncomfortableness for a little bit, you will bask in the love that he has for you. And that is so healing. And that's the most healing that I've gotten that I couldn't get from therapy or from taking antidepressants or anything like that. Like that's when my mental health really started to be healed. It wasn't just another coping mechanism. It was being healed.
So good. There's so much power in the silence, solitude, and stillness. Like, because it positions you, it like brings you to a place of center. I love what you're talking about because it's a very, just a tangible way. Like, if you're going to learn something, if you're going to school, you position yourself to be at school. You get your backpack and you get your pen and your writing utensil and you go to a desk, and it's like you're positioned to learn when you go to the classroom. And so even if you're learning online, you get positioned, you get your notebook and you open your laptop and whatever you do. It makes sense that if this is a priority to hear God, that you would even have a ritual and a place that says, I'm centered in this focus. My focus is to hear the Lord. So I'm going to position myself to be able to do it. It's important. I'm going to equip myself and give myself what I need, whether it's just a peaceful, or a joyful thing, like a candle, or a practical thing, like a journal, to capture what you're getting. But actually saying, like, I'm going to create a space where I'm going to just get silent. I'm going to stay still, and I'm going to get alone so that I can listen, even if it's just for 10 minutes. And it makes sense that it's important to actually center yourself and give yourself, well, this is what it looks like. Because we would do that if we are working. Well, this is what it looks like for me to give myself the best possible setup for success while I work, So why wouldn't we give our time hearing the Father kind of the same respect, the same appreciation for setting ourselves up for success to hear what he has to say? Along that lines, I was thinking work as you are an entrepreneur and a creative, and you have a business. And so I want to hear about that. Like, tell me more about that. But also, how does listening prayer benefit you as a business owner, as a creative, like all the things that you do and give yourself to? Because obviously it's going to benefit you in your spiritual life, your personal life, but in being a businesswoman and you're wearing all the hats when you work for yourself too. So what's listening prayer do for you? And that, and even an example of is there something really powerful, through listening prayer, you got direction for what you do, like the thing, your purpose and calling in business, what you're doing, what's happened, what's God doing?
So I do have a 9 to 5 as a creative, and I have had that specific job with a certain agency for 8 years now. At the time of this recording, it's been 8 years. And for a lot of those years, I was not healthy. And I can just, I feel the difference of being able to walk into meetings or presenting client work when I remember being so stressed out about being so connected to my identity as a creative, or having my identity be attached to the work that I was presenting. And so, if they don't like it, then I'm devastated. But the difference now, and just being a lot healthier and having a sense of my identity not being connected. I mean, obviously, I'm doing the best work I can and want to make it the best.
Yeah.
But if there needs to be an edit, which that is very common, very rarely. I mean, that's you better go buy a lottery ticket on the day that your client doesn't ask for a change, right? So that's just expected. But now, requesting those edits, and it's just a very small thing for me, but my anxiety was through the roof. But now I'm just okay, yeah, that sounds great. Let me, collaborate with you. And when you are operating from a place of peace, of knowing that no matter what, your worth cannot be touched. And so
it's not moving your identity. It's not moving your worth. Absolutely. It's not comparing you or breaking you down anymore, because you know the truth.
And what's beautiful is, it's, I do photography mostly, but then I also help create concepts for video across platforms or websites, and just we are mostly a brand strategy agency at this point. And so working closely with the brand strategy to figure out who our clients are. And so it's really fun work, but it's a lot of collaboration. And if you are operating from a place of fear, it's really hard to collaborate. And so when
Right.
you start to operate from a place of peace and knowing your identity is from God and not based on how well I'm doing at this job performance, I'm actually going to take risks more. I'm going to get, more curious. I'm going to try new things, and I'm going to be more willing to maybe even have a more humble position on the team, because that will make the best work altogether. Because I'm working with an agency full of amazing people, but if you're siloed and you're isolating yourself because you're too scared to be part, then that actually really prevents the best work from being made.
Right. Because then if somebody else has a great idea, it's hard to, in humility, lay your idea down and say, I want to support your idea. You're right. That's the way we should go. Because then you're kind of acting like brothers and sisters. There's the infighting and competition instead of acting like a daughter. Like, it's not good. I'll have a great idea another day too. I love that. I mean, because then it's centering you and you're not having to compete. I don't know why I thought you had your own business. Did you used to? Or you also have something else?
Yeah, so that's my 9 to 5. And then actually I'm in a weird position with my business because I kind of had to take a break in the summer from operating. And so I have a tiny little micro bakery that I do out of my home kitchen. And so I kind of operate out of like cottage food wall and make non-perishable goods that sell for retail at a really cool boutique grocery store. So I did that for 2 years. And then I was also sometimes doing cooking classes and dinner clubs. So I was all about food. My baking business is called Weirdo, which is like kind of an identity statement in itself.
Like weird dough.
But dough,
DOUGH.
Yes.
So fun.
And it's the idea was I love putting weird things in dough because I'm not going to probably make the best chocolate chip cookie that someone has ever, I mean, that's grandma's job, but can I make the best bacon cookie? Can I put like,
yes, amen. Finally, somebody speaks my love language.
or even like, just like, different types of ingredients from all over the world that you wouldn't normally see in a typical bakery. Like I want to put weird things in front of, because I come from Atlanta, which is a bigger market than what Kingsport, Tennessee is. And so I have been, and I worked in fine dining. So I was around a lot of chefs who used really cool ingredients, and it was really cool and creative. And then you come here, and then like a lot of that culture and creativity is missing from the culinary scene here. So I wanted to kind of fill that space and inspire people. And so, but what I was talking earlier with the weirdness of my business, and this is where I'm really trying to hear from God about what he wants me to do next, because I had to take a break over the summer. And I don't know if I'll go back to operations as it had been for 2 years. And what's beautiful is I think before I took the break, I was still kind of tied up in that identity because I had a cool community. I love my branding. I love, creating, actually kind of accidentally started the business because I was just practicing food photography. Because I wanted to be a food photographer for a long time. And then people saw my pictures of some bacon cookies and said, hey, do you sell those? And that's how it started. And then
everything starts with bacon.
Everything starts with bacon.
Did those sell really well? Like, were people just wowed by,
bacon cookies? Bacon cookies paid my rent every month for like a year.
Oh my gosh. I'm starting a new business. Luckily here, I don't want to be your competition, but I really feel the Lord on that.
I will send you my recipe. They're kind of a headache to make, but that's why I charge so much for them. But they're
it's actually in the dough, not like just on the icing like a maple bacon donut would be. It's like actually in the dough, like instead of a chocolate chip.
Yeah, I do a brown butter base. So it's a brown butter, so it's like caramelized sugar.
You really are my person.
And then there's caramel, chocolate, bacon, and then Malden sea salt on the top. So those were my best sellers at the store. And it was really fun to walk around my community, and just part of my sales tactics was just giving free cookies out to people and be like, hey, if you want to buy some more, head on down to the grocery store.
Come in.
Um, and so it was so much fun because it was a
Yeah.
challenge that and so like this is also for the women out there who like have an idea or are good at something and they don't know how to start a business. What I found was really cool. My community chamber of commerce offered a 10-week long entrepreneurial class through a program. It's a national program called Co-Starters. And I bet even if there's not a co-starters organization or meetup or cohort in your local area, um, I bet that there are resources for people who want to pursue something like that, and it will teach you practical things and how to take practical steps. But
It's
it
awesome.
was really scary to to start a business and to start putting stuff out. Um,
I
but
have
I
to
think
ask, do you feel like you did it because God told you to do it?
at
Some
the
of the people
time I
are
don't think I
waiting
was
for,
listening to God.
you know what I mean? People are waiting to like do anything that's in their heart sometimes. I'm waiting for God to tell me to do it, when the right time to do it. Like I'm waiting for the audible voice to be like, this is the way, walk in it. And then like, sometimes you have to do the thing that God already put in your heart and like trust that Holy Spirit within you is, and put your foot on the gas and be like, Jesus is in the car and he'll tell me where to take a left.
Mhm.
So you just
There,
started it and like, did Jesus was like in it with you once you started hearing God and
I will say that I had not known about hearing from God when I started it. So, and I was still just dipping my toe back in the church after being absent and honestly kind of an atheist for about 10 years. I had a really bad church hurt from whenever I was um, in my early 20s. And so I stepped away from faith completely, but I was using cooking as a way of therapy. It was actually um, a recommendation from my therapist. And he said something along the lines of, and this was when I was healing from a really hard season with my mental health. And he said, like, you really need a hobby. You need something that feeds you. Literally, you love food. You won't shut up about it. How about instead of complaining that there's nothing good to eat, you start cooking it? And
so
so
good.
I started with HelloFresh, that subscription box.
Mhm.
If this gets sponsored by HelloFresh, that'd be great. Um, but 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 HelloFresh taught me how to start cooking, and then I was taking master classes online, the classes that you can take from like Gordon Ramsay about like life skills, and then I started. So I just like really found I fell in love with like reading recipe books from cover to back. And so I was finding this love and a way to spend my time and feed my mind and feed my body by like exploring different cultures through foods. And I would take like whole weekends to do deep dives on different countries. So I really got into savory cooking first and then baking kind of followed. But um, I look back and know that that was God leading me the whole time. And it was just
Mhm.
these, I call them God winks, like a little wink from God, where he was
Mhm.
like, this is the desire that I'm giving you. Like, this is a really, like, a strong passion that you have. And I want to give you the desires of your heart and, like, just go do it. And so I spent years kind of documenting my not knowing that it would lead to a business, but kind of documenting how I was learning how to cook. And so I kind of had this, like, people knew me for being really into food from social media. I would document like making whole meals and stuff. Um, and so it was just like, it was, I think, a desire that God gave me that I also was excelling in naturally. It was giving me life, it wasn't draining me. And also, my community around me was really encouraging me. And without all of those things, I wouldn't have taken the leap to actually start a business. But it was just like, I knew it was good. I knew it was healthy. And it didn't, it just, I wanted to work on it after I got home from my 40-hour a week job. I was willing to spend hours on it and got
Yeah.
excited about it. And so I think when I think back to it, I do recognize that that was how God was speaking to me, and it was through other people because I had such a great community of people around me, encouraging me, thinking that this was a great idea. I had people coming out of the woodwork to try to help me figure out how my logo should look and packaging, people just believed in me and gave me chances and wanted me to come cook for them or like teach a cooking class for the first time. And it was just like God was saying, this is the next step. And so right now there's a little bit of uncertainty with it, but I'm not nervous. I'm excited. I don't know what the future weirdo will actually look like, but I know that if it was just a season to teach me how to start the next thing, I have all that experience and that none of that is lost. So I'm just really listening to God about what that looks like going forward.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't. I
So
never intended to like start a business. It was just like I just kind of got pushed into it from my friend group, and it became one of the most beautiful risks I've ever taken.
That's awesome. I mean, when I hear you talking, like I can see a lot of your characteristics that play a part of who you are. Like obviously you're a lifelong learner and a creative. And you're definitely a promoter of others because already you are promoting HelloFresh and also just walking around your neighbor, like the town, giving people cookies. It's not even calling them to come buy your cookie. You're literally sending them to the store that sells your cookie where you're promoting them because you believe in them, or else why would you sell your cookies there and invite people to come? So it's like, obviously you have something that cares about other people getting attention that they deserve too. But I'm just thinking, like, these are all kind of characteristics that I can just see from having one conversation with you. Obviously, you love to be obedient to the voice of God and spend time in his presence, But is there anything about your identity and purpose and belonging that you've heard from God? I know earlier you said you kept hearing beloved daughter, and it took a couple of years before that kind of transitioned to anything else. Is there anything else you want to share about what you've heard from the Father about who you are? And beyond the beloved daughter, I don't want to get too personal, but if there's just even a little trinket, a God wink that you want to share.
Yes. I have known for my whole life that I was creative, and there's a million with different ways to be creative. You don't have to be an actual creative job title, job vocation to be creative and express that. But he kept saying you're a creative communicator, and I'm learning so much about myself through different tools like Enneagram and the Clifton Strengths Finders. All great tools. I mean, definitely not something that you gotta, loyally hang your hat on, but it's really good information to take in and see if it's true. But it all was pointing to, yes, I am a communicator and I am deeply creative and I love to bring people. I'm a connector. I want to create experiences that connect. I mean, that was the idea behind creating dinner clubs, creating connection with people through food or, the cooking classes. And so I'm hearing that lately. And I was recently, again, I think gosh, he talks to me more through community than, because I was recently nominated last year to do a TEDx talk. And I had the desire. I had been going to my regional TEDx talks for the past 2 years that they had started and thought, oh my gosh, what a cool thing. Never in my life would I have had the audacity to apply for it myself, but I got nominated. So, and I don't even know who nominated me. And it was probably just based off some of the social content that I put on my creative baking. And so what it was showing me is God is faithful and opening doors and ways. When I'm being obedient with a little sphere of influence that I have through my baking community, he's going to multiply that. If that is something that he's going to give you influence in. And so something that I was just doing, I mean, why does a baking page have a little podcast? And it was really, it was just a social media thing. It's not on Apple Podcasts or anything, but I just wanted to start having conversations with chefs and foodies and bakers about resiliency and lessons learned from the kitchen. That, being obedient in that, and really that took a lot of guts for me to publish. But when I was obedient with little, he started giving me more. And it was through other people encouraging me and nominating me. And I think that's also a lesson, just a really quick side note. When you see someone that you think is doing something really cool, encourage them, nominate them for the thing, nominate for them for the award. It was the same thing with 40 under 40 a few years ago. I got nominated for that. Don't know why. I mean,
Wow, that's awesome.
so it's just like people in my life are just lifting me up for left and right. And so, obviously, it was just confirmation again and again, like, you're a creative communicator and you're going to do that no matter what. Like, I was creatively communicating with people through a baking business. And so it's going to happen. It's going to,
You're speaking straight to my stomach.
Yeah. And hopefully your heart too. And right. Like,
definitely my heart.
I
heart bacon.
Yeah. Me too. And so, like, your identity will come out through no matter like what your vocation is or what your hobbies are. Like, you will bring to it that special sauce that you're born with. The unicorn sprinkles, whatever, like, beautiful analogy you want to take to it. Like, you will bring your identity out in whatever you're pursuing. And if you're being obedient to that, God is going to reward you with opportunities that you would never usually have the guts to even pursue. And
Definitely.
Even before the night of the TEDx talk, which I think it went as well as it could have gone, for being a first time speaker to do anything like that in front of a couple hundred people. But it was a leading up to, that was a really special time in my life that God was just like, I was spending my nights writing about abundance and scarcity and getting really excited about sharing this idea with people. And so it was like, it was kind of like he was ministering to me through about those topics through me working out. How do I communicate this to a group of people that don't know me? So it was just a special time. And so, I'm hearing from God that I really feel like I'm being led, and obviously you welcomed me to be here as your guest. And so, when you are, I think, obedient and doing the things that delights the Lord, because he's, giving you that delight in your heart, that passion in your heart, when you're pursuing that and you're sharing it with the world, people will notice. People will encourage you, and you'll have more opportunities to do it on higher levels and bigger spheres of influence than you could have ever done on your own.
So true. I love that you said even just there is such a precious piece of being a person who looks to delight the heart of God. Like, to be on purpose about delighting God's heart, it just like makes me want to step and go, oh my gosh, what can I do? How can I pursue my King's heart today? How can I delight him? How can I bring delight to him? Like, yeah, we'll have, when we are done here, I'll have to have some listening prayer time. Let's go there. But I want to bring all of that back around to everything that you've done. Being able to pursue God's heart in it is what you're doing. I know that you've had this journey of up and down and walking away from the Lord, coming back to the Lord, walking with God, not hearing God, learning how to hear God. And then obviously we're also in process, not perfectly like listening all of the time. And we're still in our restorative process, but there's permission to be there and then be drawn in by the Lord and have him say, hey, come remember, come back to center. Or the invitation that's really sweet of hearing Jesus say, do you want to come be with me today? Even just while you're driving, it's not like, I think a lot of women especially think, well, I have to be in the closet with a shawl over my head and the door closed and nobody has to bother me. And if that's not, that perfect scenario is not happening, I just don't know how I would ever have some listening prayer time. And like, no, that happens while you're in the car line picking up your kids, or you're doing dishes, or you're in the conference room. Like, you can hear and listen right now because he's always has something to say. there's no separation between us and him. And he goes into the car line and the conference room with us, and we can listen to him. And that is back to the beginning. And the thread of everything you're saying here is it is the beginning of mental health. What does God say to me that is the truth? Because the foundation of instability and unhealth mentally is a lie.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we can learn how to, for ourselves, counter the lie with the truth by listening and hearing and obeying and walking it out. So a woman who's listening today, and like the ripple effect of this is powerful because she's going to hear something and then she's going to teach it to her children and her neighbors and her coworkers or her employees or her congregation or etc. Her students in life, her sphere of influence. How would you tell her to end listening to this episode and then go into listening prayer? I know that you gave kind of that outline of journaling, but if say she's never done it before, and right now we would just want to encourage her to do it now if this is the only time you can do it. You don't have to wait till you have a journal in a hand or different colors or a candle, right? You can just stop right now. What would you encourage her to start out with? And like you said, there's different questions you can ask.
Mm-hmm.
If there was like kind of a general first question, you would say, start with this. What would that look like for her to stop right now, take the next 10 minutes and listen to God?
Yes. My favorite, and this is something that I've done personally with Jamie and Donna Winship. They have been major teachers. And so if anyone wants more information, look them up with Identity Exchange. But this is a question that I go to probably every day. What lie am I believing? And it can be about someone else. It can be about yourself. Usually it's about me. And the lie that I will hear is that I'm disposable, I'm unworthy. And so that's where I live in fear. And I'm probably kind of an anxious person still, I would say. I can recover quicker because of this. But when I am feeling anxiety or kind of uneasy, or I don't know how I'm supposed to be feeling, I'm just like, what lie am I believing today? Am I believing that, and then I go through all the things that the enemy tells me, that I'm not smart enough or whatever. And so, you have to decide, like, that is a lie. And what the beauty of listening prayer helps you do is take the lie, acknowledge that what it is, it's not true about yourself ever, yesterday or today or tomorrow. That is a lie. And you record over the lie of the world, the lie of the enemy with God's truth. Nowhere in scripture would God or Jesus ever say that someone was worthless or wasn't smart enough or anything. Like, they were speaking to people who, to be honest, a lot of us wouldn't speak to if we encountered them today, right? And he was speaking life into them. And so use the actual truth in scripture to record over that lie. And it's literally like, I kind of think of it as like burning a CD. That might date me a little bit, unfortunately, but I'm recording over what that lie used to tell me. And I'm like, no, God's truth says that I'm his daughter, and he's the creator of the universe, and he wants to tell me that I'm loved no matter what the world is telling me. And so I can and it's a quick exchange, And so we can, once you start kind of practicing it, but if this is your very first time to try listening or contemplative prayer, that's the first question I would always suggest for people, because it's not religious. It has nothing to do with where you go to church or how you identify, denomination or whatever. This is something that you can even ask someone, and it's not even the faith-based thing. Like, are you believing a lie about yourself right now? Probably yes. And then listen to what the truth is, and then receive it and actually walk in it and agree with it. That's where I get stuck sometimes. But it's an immediate like, okay, I'm freaking out over nothing. My anxiety immediately comes down. It's like, I'm a daughter of the king. Let's do this, So it's an immediate thing for me now because I have to do it a couple times a day.
Right. But it's such a practical tool. You don't need to hire a coach to help you do this.
Mm-mm.
You don't need to go somewhere on Sunday to do this. You don't need to go to counseling or even like healing, like a healing ministry. Like you can actually just stop and hear the Father speak to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what you said, I mean, you're publicly declaring like the lie I hear is often X, Y, and Z. And just to be honest about that and not deny it or ignore it or suppress it and shove it down, but to actually, how could you ever trade it in for the truth if you won't accept that the lie exists in the first place? So we have to look at it. God already knows about it. We have to look at it and define it for ourselves. And like in the way that I teach how to take your thoughts captive, like literally.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing you have to do is define what the thought is. And most of us don't even think about what we're thinking. So then you have to actually stop and say, what is the thought? And is it the lie or is it truth? Like, do I want to keep it or do I actually take it captive? Because taking it captive means you've got to confine it. And so you have to define it and then confine it so it can't do any more damage if that's its intent. And then you're going to go dig for the truth and you're going to challenge it against the truth and see if it lines up. And then you have to decide if you're going to keep it or cast it away or cast it down, and it's like, you actually have to see what it is and get honest about, I believe this. And there's that objective truth where we're like, but the Bible says that's not true. But the problem is that you have an experience that made you believe it's true. And you can't just deny that with your head knowledge because that's just suppressing it. So I love that you actually exemplified, own the fact, I believe this. I'm hearing this. I think this sometimes, at least, like I'm in a process. But because you are willing to do that humbly before the Lord, you can say, I believe this lie, but now I am free to give it to Jesus and get some truth in exchange for it. And nobody literally, nobody's telling people in the church, please be honest about the lies and the sin in your life. Like, it's really hard to do.
Not in a healthy church. Yeah.
Not like, it's just so normal to suppress it so that you can't tell it when you see me on Instagram. I don't want that to be in my filter. You know what I mean? So I've got to either like act like it's just not in my filter system, or if I get honest about it, I could be rejected. Like it makes me very vulnerable to be honest about that, and then actually not just tell it publicly, but just tell your friend. So what are they going to think? Like if I get honest that I think this, And I love that you are honest about it. And that you are willing to even tell women, like, here, go do this and just take this to the Lord and he will answer you. Because I think that's at the core of our entire conversation is it's time to start believing that God wants to talk to you. You're worth his attention. He does what he says. He has something to say. You're valuable enough. You're a beloved daughter and he wants to tell you something.
It's so healing. It's a paradigm shift because I did truly feel absolutely worthless for a lot of years. I mean, I lost half my 20s to depression, and there's like years I don't remember because I was just so, not living in truth. I believed a lie for so long, and it can be in little things, but it can really affect how you view God, yourself, and others.
Yeah.
It'll show up how it'll be in how that you treat yourself and how you show up for yourself. And so, and also, and that sounds really serious and really heavy. And just to lift it up a little bit again, like sometimes I laugh when I do this because sometimes I'll like, what lie am I believing? Oh, that I'm ugly and stupid. But like, No, I'm not.
Right.
When you say it out loud, it takes the power away.
You're not ugly, and I don't think you're stupid.
And
Yeah.
so, right,
Yeah.
but like it takes the power away because like if you keep it in and just what you're saying, which is so beautiful, I've never really thought of it like that. But yeah, when you're keeping in this lie, which when you say it out loud is that's kind of a silly lie to believe, but when you keep it in, you're feeling the anxiety and animosity. And if you don't identify what it is, you're just going to feel out of it and unsure of yourself. But yeah, identifying it is so important. And I've never thought of it like that. That's beautiful.
And you have to decide what you're going to agree with, and if you don't know that there's a lie that you are not just believing, but allowing and agreeing, how can you ever change a mind?
Mm-hmm.
You don't even know what you're thinking in your mind because you're just going upon like kind of a default, right? And so we have to think about what we're thinking, think about what the lie is, ask God to show us so that we can change it, so we can renew our mind. Otherwise, if we are not thinking lies, then there's no need for mind renewal. The Bible says there is.
Yeah.
So we should talk about it.
I mean, yeah, he tells us that we have to come to him to renew our minds. And so that they expect it to happen. And it's part of the, probably, how Jesus got through the temptation. Like he probably had that external temptation on him, and he was somehow able to not fall into it. What do you think he was doing? Right? He was saying, I'm the Son of God. Like I can't. And so there's something that you said that reminded me of the importance of choosing what you think about, and just being aware that you do have a thought life, whether or not you're in that you identify it or not. And it reminds me of a quote from John Mark Comer, who's a great author and thought leader in the spiritual formation space. But it says, like, you are going to be a disciple of something, right? Like, whatever you worship, you're worshiping something. You're going to be a disciple of something. But if you don't actively choose Jesus, you're going to be choosing something else.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
You're living at default, or you're living intentionally towards one kingdom or another, right?
Mm-hmm.
So good. And even just something you said was, I'm the Son of God. Like, when Jesus is tempted, he's just like, I'm the Son of God. I'm like, okay, let's just, obviously paraphrasing, let's just say Jesus had this thought. The devil's tempting him. Like, if you do this, I'll do that for you, blah, blah, blah. And Jesus is like, I'm the Son of God. Like, why would I do that? I am the Son of God. Why would I believe that? I'm the Son of God. Why would I agree with that lie? And if we were to transfer that to ourselves, because we can, I'm a daughter of God. Why would I believe you? You're a liar. I'm a daughter of God. I'm a beloved daughter. So why would I partner with that? Why would I let that root stay there? I don't have to. I've been equipped in how to lead myself well and not do that any longer. I can actually decide right now to not believe that ever again. And I can be who I'm becoming, that I'm called to be. So from a place of knowing, so that I can be knowing who God says I am, so I can be who I'm called to be, so that I can be equipped with everything I need to have in order to do what I'm called to do. It's upside down world kingdom. Like, but I'm a daughter of God. So yeah, why would I agree with a liar?
It takes the power away from him, doesn't it?
Gosh, right? And it's all rooted in the absolute truth of, but I'm a daughter of God. So thanks, but no thanks.
I want that on a t-shirt. I love that.
I can make this happen. I'll put it in my Printify shop.
I love it. I love that.
So good. I love hearing your heart, and I love your love for bacon. I will throw that in there. And I love your creativity, your humility and teachability, and your desire to connect and lead others, and that you would be just willing to come share with us on this podcast and just this small way to be able to pour out what you carry. So it's been really beautiful. And I would love to have more conversations about so many other things.
Yes. There's
That
a
we
lot
should
to
probably
share.
shorten. Otherwise, it's
Yeah.
like a 4-hour episode, which we can do. And then I will just have to chop it up.
Right. I'd love to come
Sure,
back.
it's fun.
This has been such a blessing, and I
Great.
love your heart as well. This was a great conversation.
Yeah. And so we'll hear from you again soon.
Thank you for listening. Please subscribe to the show so you don't miss any new episodes. And to learn more about me, my work, and how we can connect, visit sterlingandstonementoring.com or check the show notes. And until next time, remember, all things are possible and figure outable.